The views and opinions expressed by the guest author or speaker during this live session are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Reader's Magnet. The content shared is for informational purposes only and does not constitute endorsement or promotion of any particular belief, ideology, or product.
Hey, and hello, authors, book lovers, and storytellers, and welcome to another exciting episode of Reader's Magnet featured author interview, where we dive deep into the world of creativity and inspiration. And our guest for today is the author of the book, The Wrong Side of the Flame. So please help me welcome Miss Renaii West. So Renaii, how are we doing today?
I'm doing awesome, and good afternoon to you. It's nice meeting you.
It's nice meeting you. And again, to wherever you are around the globe, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to each and every one of you, though. So, again, to all of our people, as you can see, though, Wrong Side of the Flame, though, is being posted there on screen. So, again, if you want to check it out, though, we'll be adding some links down below for you to see what this book is all about. But before you click away and try to grab a copy of that book, let's first talk about the ideas and how this book came into fruition. So, Renaii, is it okay if you can just give us a quick introduction of who is the Renaii West?
Who I am? Hi,
Yes.
I'm a former, I would say, drama instructor in the creative and performing arts program. And during that time, I wrote and produced my own productions. I sort of catered the scripts to the students that I had at the time. And I sort of have been writing, I think, throughout my whole life. I wrote a play in junior high that we performed. And I think at some point at this stage in my life, I had these stories in my head and I just finally decided to go for it. I was a little scared at first. You know, it's the idea of what if you fail or what if you look ridiculous? And at some point in your life, you think, so what? And I just went for it. And during, I also like to mention, during my other stages, I did perform for like 10 years in belly dancing, and I'm now more into ballroom dancing and performing in those capacities.
I love that. And,
I try to keep the creative juices flowing.
I do agree with that. Trying to have these activities and get these creative juices. And it's really important, especially if ever you're writing a book. But talking more about this book, The Wrong Side of the Flame. So, Renaii, can you please tell us what this book is really all about?
This book is a lot about friendship. And also, I've always been sort of fascinated by the dual nature of fire. I mean, on one hand, fire is beautiful, it's sexy, it's erotic. You know, everybody wants to sit by the fire pit. Everybody wants a good makeout session in front of a fireplace. But I'm in Southern California. I know how dangerous fires can be. And so it's the idea of, so to me, it's almost a metaphor at how far do you push something good before it becomes bad? Is that whole pleasure and pain. Something starts out very pleasurable, it can become painful. Running might be good for you, you overdo it, you get bad knees. I mean, there's so many examples. So The Wrong Side of the Flame is a lot about choosing just how far you go. And in this case, a lot of it is friendship and a lot of it is ambition. You know, it's good to be ambitious. It's good to take chances. It's good to go for it. But at some point, do you give up your scruples? Do you lose yourself? And so those are basically the themes of the book.
And Renaii, I'm saying right here. Then again, I think flame or fire is really such that's also really important about this. And we're talking about the wrong side of flame. But I just want to ask, like, why is fireplay such an important element within your story then?
Well, in the book, the fire is almost a character in and of itself. I just have always liked fire. I'm not an arsonist. I'm not a pyromaniac. I have gone to things like sweat lodges. I have watched fire performances. I myself have never really learned how to do fire performing. I've come close, but I've always found fire is beautiful. A room full of candles is gorgeous. So again, I just have always find fire beautiful, but very aware of the danger it can present. So I think, and I just wanted to create a story about a fire goddess and the role of fire in one's life. I just, I just wanted, for some reason, I just became obsessed with writing about fire, making
Okay.
it a character.
But I do love it though. It's because having fire as a character is kind of unconventional, if you
Mhm.
ask me. So if I just like to ask you, because again, I know you're inspired by goddesses, and again, I think there's this kind of a mythology nerd inside of you. I'm not sure if I'm using the correct word here, but I just want to ask you, like, what inspired you then to create these unconventional characters and environments as well within your book?
Okay, throughout the years, I have attended numerous Renaissance fairs and other, I would say, bohemian events. I've also have attended, like I would call them kinky adult venues. Just let's call it
Oh,
those.
let's
And
call it that.
and what I found is there's a lot of regulars, and they're actually fascinating characters. They're very creative. They're actually very intelligent, articulate. They think outside the box. But I've noticed that often when they are when they are represented either in literature or a movie or a TV show, they're
Mhm.
sort of presented as creepy or unlikable or sort of nerdy. And I think I wanted to present them in a more positive light. Like these could be your neighbors and you'd get along perfectly well with them. You may not go everywhere with them, but you would you get along with them at a block party. So I think I just wanted to create that. And then also I wanted to expose the readers to the life of somebody working at a Renaissance fair or somebody who does enjoy their Saturday nights at as a at an adult venue as opposed to a sports bar. I
Mhm.
wanted to sort of present them more in a more normal capacity and a likable capacity.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I do like it. It's like more in painting a scenery
Mhm.
onto the reader's mind as well. And these sceneries are not conventional. Like it's not the normal forest walking, like
Mhm.
really water you can see the shimmering across the sun, but not those things. It's something that you wouldn't even think of in the first place. Talking about its unique take when painting a scenery. And I do understand that these sceneries you've been painting, Renee, really come from your experience as well as writing for stages. So, if I just like to ask you, like, what challenges do you think that you had faced from transitioning from writing for the stage to writing novels right now?
The big one, when I was writing, plays, I was focused on dialogue, character development, pacing, and there was a costume crew, there was a lighting crew, there was a set design crew, etc. That would a prop crew that would bring all the visual elements to the stage. Now that I'm writing
Mhm.
a novel, I have to create all that. You know, somebody just can't come in looking well dressed on the stage. I have to describe what that person is wearing to
Sure.
help present that character. I need to describe the room because many times the room is very important, or the prop, or the environment. And so there's a lot more descriptive writing. And that was a big, big transition.
But hey, looking at it right now though, having these novels out and having your books available and trying to be that all-in-one person, the creative design team, the one who works at the plot, make sure the story is incorrect, it's coherent as well, including the story as well. Thinking about that, and I do understand that when talking more about your book, there is a how to say a blend of mystery within this. So there is just one question that I do have here, and it says here that how do you think you can really create a very compelling but a believable mystery? Like what challenges do you think are being present during during that stage?
For me, I like crossing the T's and dotting the I's.
Okay.
You don't, when you write a mystery, you don't want there's a conflict. You don't
Okay.
want your readers figuring out who did it, why, and how within the first chapter. But at the same time, when you finish, you want your readers to say, yeah, that makes sense. I get it. You don't want them going, hey, that's not possible. That guy wasn't even near that area. You don't want what's that, conflicts, contradictions.
Hmm.
And so I find myself constantly trying to figure out maybe every element more than the reader does. If a person's going into a room, I have to stop and think, why is this person going in the room? Is it their room? If not, should the door be locked? If so, why is it unlocked? Or why does this person have a key? How did this person get a key? I mean, I kind of go nuts in figuring out all these little possible questions somebody might have. And so for me, it has to be fun. It has to be challenging. It has to be exciting, but it has to make sense at the end. The reader, I think, needs to be satisfied. And I've seen movies, or if I've seen, I watch the cozy mysteries. I watch a lot of BritBox, British mysteries. And occasionally there's an episode where, how did they get that piece of evidence? That just seemed to fall in their lap, which sometimes happens, but I want to know where and how it fell in their lap, So for me, that's it.
Hey, I do agree with you. Like, because again, that's the frustrating part. Like, you are part of the mystery part. You are also part of solving this problem that's currently happening. And luckily, though, just these clues to solve the mystery just falls in front of them without the struggle. And you try to ask, like, how in the hell did it arrive there? Like, why was it there in the first place? Those things. And being consistent with the plot and making sure that, and I think I know where you're going with this. Having these moments within your book and having these aha moments. Oh my God, this happened in chapter 3 during the story. Yeah, I love it, and I love it. I really love that, and I think that's the beautiful part about writing mysteries. It's not just a straightforward story, like from point A to point B. That's it. It's always from point A, then point A, point 1, A, point 2, then I'll get. I love it, and I really look forward to I really look forward to see this book and see a lot of people grab a copy of this, but. I just want to ask one more thing, Renaii, just from the top of my head, because again, you wrote for state, you've been at the stage for quite some time, and now you're an author. So and you are an independent author in the sense. Yes. So I just want to ask you, like, what do you think are the pros and cons of being an independent author right now?
Okay. First of all, I love being an independent author. But I'm going to mention the con first, because to me, it's a shorter list. The con list is, I still think there's still a little bit more prestige in being picked up by an established publishing house. I think if you're going to go to a cocktail party, you can say, well, Penguin's publishing my book, And so
I get it.
Yeah. And then the other con is it does cost. You as the author put the money out front. You put up front. But as I said, I love being an independent author. One, the pros are, I set my own schedule and I set my own deadlines. Now, I miss my deadlines a lot and I chew myself out, but nobody else is chewing me out. And, I decide my budget. I can decide how much I want to pay for help or publicity or whatever. And also, I do take advantage of people who are willing to proofread and critique my book before it goes into final publication. And they often will make suggestions. You know what? There's no effort, no pressure on me to accept their suggestions. Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. And so I love the independence of being an independent author. I like the control that I have. And I like, I can pick my schedule. And so I'm not waiting for somebody else to do something. So I really think there's a lot to be said about being an independent author. And and I mentioned there was more prestige, but I think there's less and less stigma to being an independent author these days. So we're catching up.
Yeah, I do agree with that. And if ever you've been seeing as well different industries, more independent creators are being well known as of the moment right now.
And music and movies and
a lot. Even authors, books, like they start as being independent authors, and basically they got picked up. But again, there is a lot of things that you would not know, you would not never know unless you give that a try. And being your own boss is one of those things that you can have control with. And I do love why you love being an independent. So, but you know what? Before we wrap this up, Renee, I just want one more thing though. Like, if ever people, because again, people picking up your book, and again, it raises the intrigue and raises the mystery of what this book is about. If ever people will be picking your book up, is there any takeaway or any message you want to give to them, like once they pick it up, like what they could take in from this book?
Well, hopefully they take in the idea of friendship, because there's a group of friends, and the friendships, how important friendships are, especially adult friendships. There's a lot of, I guess you could say, TED Talks and YouTube things about how hard it is sometimes for adults to make friends. So hopefully they take that away. And again, the idea of getting out of your comfort zone, but not to the point where you either damage yourself or you cause problems. So the idea of maybe recognizing, a friend and I used to talk about, there's a difference between going to the edge and going off the edge. So I think those are the things that I would take away from my novel. I hope they enjoy the characters. I hope they like them and think, gee, I would want to be friends with these people.
Love that, love that. And hey, there's one thing I can say though, even me listening to how you talk about the story really gets me up and giddy. Like, I want to grab a copy right now. I want to make sure that I can read it, and I want to be looking forward to the next books that you have in the sequel. But to all of our viewers and book lovers, I would highly recommend, be sure to grab a copy of Renaii West's book that is available through Amazon. And if ever you want to get some updates and try to check her out, though, she does have her website. That's www.renaiiwest.com. That's RenaaiWest.com. So if you want to check for information, for reviews, even her past interviews as well. So if you love this interview and want to see more of what she had done before, check it out though. And also, Renee, besides Wrong Side of the Flame, I do believe that you still have another book that you want to encourage people to at least check it out as well.
Oh yeah, my first one was, I'm going to just bring it up here. It's called Death by Chaos. This was my first book. And again, it's a little bit about friendship. This one is a little bit more, the women are a little bit more traditional, but they meet in college, and it's their lives over a 20-year period dealing with a mystery that happened their senior year in college, and how it affects them and affects their friendship over the next 20 years.
Love that. And another mystery novel that we can add to our shelves. Okay. So again, to all of our book lovers, okay, make sure to grab a copy there. Again, that's Wrong Side of the Flame. And what was the second book again, Renee?
As Death by Chaos.
Death by Chaos. So grab those two books right now. We'll be adding the links down in the comments section below. So you know what? As we come with the end of today's interview, I just want to say this. Take a moment and say, Renee, thank you very much for joining us and sharing your insight. It's a really lovely interview, and a really, how do you say this? I really love this book. Talking about this, hearing it, I've read a few chapters though, and now I'm really excited to finish this whole up. And once I'm done, hey, I'm gonna talk to you, and I'm gonna give you something that maybe, hey, we can do this maybe in your new book. It's something that I'm looking for right now, talking more about this. Okay. And you know what? To all of our viewers and book lovers, again, thank you much for tuning in. And always remember that every ending is just a new beginning in the world of stories. May your reading adventures be endless and your imagination boundless. And as we say here at Reader's Magnet, we share your stories with the world. Thank you and have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.